Is anyone feeling a little disconcerted by what's happening on the planet right now? This is completely off script, by the way. It's a time of such uncertainty that I never expected to have happen in my life, in my lifetime. I always thought by the time we got to where I am, all the main world wars had been done and people were kind of living together in peace, and there was diversity and equity and inclusion, and they were good things, and women's rights and LGBTQ plus and all of these things that people have fought for and died for and fought for and fought for, including religious freedoms. I thought all of that was pretty much on its way out, that we were kind of check, we've evolved. So I feel a little sad standing here today, and I have this image of a meme, I guess, I saw a little while ago, and it just said, "Please don't make me repeat myself, history." And I had prepared this talk a while ago to talk about it today, and it feels like an even more appropriate time to talk about it than when I had intended it, just in light of not only its history, but where we are. The prayer for protection is something that we say at the end of every service. We here at Unity in New Westminster like to sing, so we sing kind of a jazzy version of it. But have you ever considered where this prayer for protection came from and how it came to be part of something bigger than just unity? Glad you asked. It was 1940, the end of 1940, and James Dillet Freeman was the minister and a person at Silent Unity in Kansas City, Missouri, which is where Unity's headquarters are. And at the end of every year, they would give a little Christmas bulletin to the staff of Silent Unity. And at the back of this bulletin, James Dillet Freeman had written this poem. He decided to add this to the Christmas Eve prayer service that was for the workers at Silent Unity. And I'll read his account for you about how the prayer for protection came to be. Quote, "We had never before needed a prayer for protection, but in 1940 we needed one. So I wrote one to go with the Christmas service. What I wrote was a little 4-line verse. The light of Christ directs me. The love of Christ enfolds me. The power of Christ protects me. The presence of Christ upholds me." I had hardly finished writing this Christmas service before Silent Unity came to me again and asked me to write a protection pamphlet that we could send to people. So I did. It was called His Protecting Spirit. They told me they wanted affirmative prayers for protection on the back page. And among those was the verse from the 23rd Psalm, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me." Psalm 23. One of the young women who worked in Silent Unity was reading my manuscript as I wrote it. And as she finished it, she came up to me and she said, "Jim, if I were a woman in England and they were dropping bombs on my roof, or if I were a soldier and someone was pointing a loaded gun at me, I wouldn't want to feel like I was walking through the valley of the shadow of death. Can't you do better than that?" Dillet Freeman says, "I thought, you want me to do better than the 23rd Psalm? You have to be out of your mind." But rolling around in the back of my mind was this little verse that I had written as a prayer for protection at Christmas. I had written it for Silent Unity, but now it came rolling up to the front of my mind and demanded that I pay attention to it. First, I took the rhymes out of it. I felt it would be more universally received if it was not a rhyme. Then I changed Christ to God. It had been Christ because it had been written as a Christmas prayer, but I felt if we were going to send it around the world, God might be more acceptable to more people. So the little prayer became, the light of God surrounds me, the love of God enfolds me, the power of God protects me, the presence of God watches over me. That is the way we first printed it. Then a line came to me that I felt would make the prayer even more powerful. And that line was, wherever I am, God is. And the rest, as they say, is history. The prayer for protection has been a source of comfort and assurance for untold thousands of people. Not just people who are familiar with unity, but all people from all different faith traditions. Remember 1969, Apollo 11, the flight to the moon? I don't want to tell you how old I was then, but I remember sitting in school and hearing that. But did you know that the astronaut Buzz Aldrin carried a copy of the prayer for protection to the moon? It was, if I think about it, this little unity prayer riding aboard a rocket ship to the moon as man took a giant leap for mankind. Very cool. Little unity prayer. Huge power. What makes it so strong? What is it that makes this prayer so enduring? Well, let's take a look at some of the elements of light, love, power, presence. And as we do, if you have an allergy to the word God, some people do. I know for years I did. Good for a minister. If that doesn't work for you, then place some other word in there instead. Place life or nature or good or energy or universe or creator. Whatever faith word suits you for your understanding of what the creative power and energy is in which we live and have our being. Quantum, if that works better for you, or science. It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. We are making up the word. So find a word that suits you if God doesn't quite fit for you. But look at these elements. Elements that lead to a feeling of protection. First, we have light. The light of God. Well, light has always been a metaphor for hope. It has always been, if there's light, I'm feeling more safe. Anyone afraid of being in the dark? Me too. I'm not loving the dark at all. In the first book of John, chapter 1, we hear God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. If you've been in the dark and you've been afraid, then you know the comfort that one little speck of light can provide. When I think of the light of God surrounding me, I think of that fear of the dark, that fear of the unknown, of being displaced or lost. And to imagine that there is light somewhere brings me comfort. With the power of imagination, I can feel that darkness kind of disperse as I picture light. The light of God surrounds me. The other thing about light that is so neat is that not only does it dispel darkness, but it also has this meaning of lifting off of a weight, making things lighter. So we have this interesting word, light. It helps us to be guided, it helps us to be reassured, and it can lift the heaviness from us. Then we have the love of God enfolds me. Who doesn't know the feeling of love, whether it's romantic love or parental love or sibling love or friends? If it's love which is anywhere, you know that feeling of I matter. We all long for love. And that is why the love of God enfolds me becomes such a powerful idea, that I am, as I said in that meditation earlier today, that I am comforted by this blanket of love. What about power? The power of God protects me. At Unity, we often say that thoughts lead to experiences. Sometimes we take that a step too far, in my opinion, where we think that the ideas that we have are always the things that have led to the experience we're in. And I'm here to suggest that that is not always true. That we live in an interconnected energy field, and so yes, there are times when what I think about, I bring about, if you will, but there are other times when I have nothing to do with it because life is also happening to me and through me. Sometimes we like that, sometimes not so much. But we're not always the person responsible. And this is where the power of God protects me, has some comforting power. Because what it's telling me is that I am not doing this alone, that I am not solely responsible, that I can lay the burden down and do my best to be with it, whatever it looks like, that I don't have to be in charge. And as I was working on this talk, I was thinking of my granddaughter. She just turned 2. And how, if she was even a little bit older, how she might be able to, at times, identify with this idea of light, not being afraid of the dark, of love, knowing that you are nurtured and cared about because you matter, and power, that sometimes there are things that are going to happen to you that aren't yours, and you can let mommy take care of it for you, or daddy. And then we have the presence of God watches over me. Now, I don't know about you, but when I was a kid, the idea of the presence of God watching over me at times was loving, and at times was judge, robe, clipboard, check, 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 making notes about what I did and what I didn't do correctly. Watching over, though, has such a more beautiful idea of I'm here to help you, to support you, to listen to you. Some of you may be familiar with Psalm 121. We hear these words, and they are part of Mendelssohn's Elijah. He watching over Israel slumbers not nor sleeps. Should thou walking in grief languish, he will quicken thee. He will comfort thee. You don't have to do it alone. There is this idea of presence being the giving of attention. So how could we use this? This prayer that creates an idea of parental safety for each of us. The idea of light and love and power and presence. Well, the first idea I would suggest to you is that you use it for yourself. At a time when you are feeling anxious, when you are worried, when life isn't going quite the way you want. What if you could say these words just to give yourself a little bit of centering? A little bit of there's more at play here than I'm understanding, and I'm going to invoke the idea that I am part of something greater. For yourself. Beginning of the day, the end of the day, at a time of crisis, at a time of joy, what if you could say this to yourself every morning? You could also use it as a way of focusing. Gladys over here gave me permission many years ago to tell this story, which is that she had a surgery that she was scheduled for. And the doctors weren't sure they wanted to do the surgery. It was fairly high risk, and they weren't convinced that it was a good idea. And over time, Gladys convinced them that she was willing to take the risk, and please, let's do the surgery. But do you know what this wise woman did? As everyone came into the operating theater, she had arranged that together as a team, they would say the prayer for protection out loud. And everyone said it. Everyone said it. Now, does it surprise any of us that the surgery was a success? No, and you are here, yes. And the reason it's not a surprise is because, who knows? I mean, the skeptic community might say it would have been fine anyway. We won't know that. But what I will guarantee is that by saying that all together, this team became a little bit more cohesive, a little bit more focused on their patient, and a little bit more invested in the success. That's the power. So use it to help you. And in doing so, you can actually invoke it as a blessing to help others. If you see an ambulance on the road or something awful happening on the news, which it's not if God, it's when, say these words. They're a blessing. They're a prayer. It's as if you're giving a hug. And I know, again, the skeptic community might say it doesn't mean anything. But if we are living in an interconnected world, then every time we uplift, it makes a slight difference everywhere. And if enough of us do that, it may make a difference to the person's outcome. And certainly, what harm could it do? To intend only good. But here is where it gets the coolest, in my opinion. And that was in the final thing that James Dillet Freeman wrote, which is, wherever you are, God is. Wherever you are, God is. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of Unity, wrote, "Your mission is to express all that you can imagine God to be." Unity's first principle is that there is only one power. Call it whatever name you want. It's not going to change the fact that there is one power, one creative energy in which all of us exist. If we could figure that out, think how much smoother our lives would be. Talk for another day. Our second principle is that we are all part of it, which makes sense, because if we say that there is only one power, then that must include us. There can't be any spot that's, beautiful flower, oh, God's there. Lovely sunset, oh, God's there. Lovely baby, oh, God's there. Us in the mirror, no God. No. And yet sometimes we treat ourselves and the people we care about in that way. So the second principle of unity is we're all part of it. Now the good news is we, each of us, are not all of it. God is not all of, we are not all that God is. There are other things at play. But, my friends, God is all who we are. And so if we take this idea that there is no spot that God is not, and we apply Fillmore's idea to express all that we can imagine God to be, then surely that means that we are ambassadors for whatever we think God is. So what if we are the light? We are the love. We are the presence and we are the power of God for ourselves and for other people today. Boo! Because who's going to be it if it's not each one of us? God's not just out there. God is this. It is the essence of who we are. In which case, can we be a person that adds more light to the world? Can we be a person who, in somebody else's darkness, holds just a flame of hope for them? Can we be the person in the face of someone else's heaviness, add a little levity and lightness? Can we be the person who loves, who enfolds others in love? Can we use our power, and we, make no mistake, have power? Can we manage our power so that it is intended for good? So that every word we speak, every thought we hold, is for the benefit of uplifting others. And can we give presence to another person? This one's the toughest for me. Because when I think of presence, and I think of interpersonal relationships, the presence of God watches over me. Well, keep talking to me while I'm on my phone, while I'm watching TV, while I'm essentially waiting for you to shut up so I can speak, not listening to actually hear what you're saying, but listening so I can rebut with the wisdom of my own point of view. None of that is presence. And I do it all the time. And I know I'm not the only one. But imagine if you treated the people you care about, or even better, the people you don't care about, with the same level of presence as you give to a 2-year-old toddler. Imagine the power in the connection. Imagine how their life will be affected, knowing that you're genuinely interested in them as a human. imagine. I found a note here about power, going back to power for a moment. Mind your headspace. Remember in England, you get on the tube and it's mind the gap. Imagine mind your headspace. Don't ask me why I'm telling you that right now, but it's in my notes and I loved it, so I'm giving it to you again. So here's the thing. If we are to be representatives of God, then we can turn this poem around in various and much more meaningful ways than what we first see on the surface. It's beautiful on the surface. But here's the turnaround. If we are supposed to be, and we are choosing to be representatives of God, and let us do that, because it's up to us to change the world, then the poem can be written this way. The light that I am surrounds you. The love that I share enfolds you. The power that I have protects you. The presence that I give watches over you. Wherever I am, you are. Put your name instead of the word God. And it works in reciprocity. So, you, this community, this family, this relationship, whatever it might be, are also expressions of God. So, the light of this community surrounds me. The love of this community enfolds me. The power of this community protects me. The presence of this community watches over me. Isn't that what prayer is? Wherever the community is, I am. We are one. And then take it to yourself. Say it to yourself. The light that I am protects me. The love that I am enfolds me. The power that I am, the power that I have protects me. The presence that I have for myself will watch over me. Let this prayer center you in the midst of fear. Let this prayer give you a way of blessing others when they are in the midst of fear. And most importantly, for me, may this prayer be a reminder that each and every one of us is God in expression. Let us be the best and highest expression of God that we can be. You are the light of God. You are the love of God. You are the power of God. You are the presence of God. Can you be God for someone today? You are the face of God. I bless you.